On this channel, I've discussed the first two Thomas narrators and Mr. Conductors in the United States. I'd love for you to watch them if you haven't already. But Ringo Starr and George Carlin are pretty well universally praised for their work on Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Sure, you may not prefer one or the other, but you can respect their time on the show. But the narrator that came afterwards, the same can't be said for. Let's talk about the most polarizing Thomas narrator and Mr. Conductor, Alec Baldwin. Alexander Ray Baldwin III is an Academy Award-nominated American actor, writer, comedian, and producer. He starred in many movies and TV shows before Britt Allcroft approached him to voice a season of Thomas the Tank Engine. Alec describes Britt as an incredibly unusual woman, but he says that with a laughing smile on his face. She explained to him how she got the rights to the Railway series and how she made the show. Alec said he adored Britt and he would do the show.
Some of it. I think Ringo was before me, and she asked me if I would voice a season of the show. The key is that I met Britt. And when I met Britt, who's this incredibly unusual woman, and she told me the story about how she got the books, the Railway series, and I just adored Britt. And when she said to me, "Do you want to do this show?" I said, "Sure." Very often when you do projects in this business, it's who's doing the asking. And there is, kind of an unavoidable likability factor. And I just really loved Britt. She was just a great lady, and we did a couple seasons of that. And then they asked me to do the film, which is a whole other saga.
So the first season that Alec narrated was season 5. It's the first season without a Railway series story in it, so the team had to start making their own stories full time. They chose a much more action-packed and sometimes dark tone to the show. The season featured a lot more crashes than the first few. These stories allowed Alec to shine as the narrator. I think his tone and the way he speaks in these stories is absolutely perfect. Well, most of the time. He has a soft voice, and it really conveys the happenings of Sodor well here. When it comes to the voices of the engines and the characters, I also think he does pretty well. He may not have had as wide of a range as George Carlin, but he definitely adds more character and personality than Ringo does. He gives Gordon a very deep voice, but it also kind of makes him sound a little dumb.
"Because I'm a big blue engine and I know everything. I shall complain whenever I want. You're just a small red engine with ideas above your station."
He makes Henry sound sick, and he has like the sniffles where he's like, "Hello." I don't think that's really accurate considering Henry got fixed at crew, but I do love the voice anyway.
"We engines run this island," said Henry.
His Sir Topham Hatt is firm but gentle at the same time, and since there's a lot more Sir Topham Hatt episodes in season 5 and 6, I think it plays off really well.
"Indeed," agreed Sir Topham Hatt. "The engines are busy. I'll take the car." "Is it reliable?" asked the station master. "Certainly," said Sir Topham Hatt.
One of my favorites is he actually tries to replicate Carlin's Bill and Ben with their high-pitched, squeaky voices.
"That's my line of cars," huffed Bill. "It's not. It's mine," snorted Ben. "Yours is over there. It's mine. It's not. It's mine. It's not."
But probably the most polarizing voice he did in season 5 was James.
"Oh, help!" cried James.
I'm not sure if that was what he was going for exactly, but I think I like it. I do think it fits James and his personality. And there were a bunch of other voices in season 5 that I liked as well, and I think he did a good job.
"You're useless little bugs," he called from above. "If you put these freight cars on the inside lines, then I wouldn't have so far to travel." Well, well, well. No wonder this railway's a mess. You belong in a museum, not working in a quarry. I tried to warn you about the viaduct. Why didn't you pay attention? "I will, and thank you for a lovely day. I do hope I can come back again." "The line can be spooky," said Mavis. "Thank you for the warning. Find out why." Excuse me, Mr. Oliver. It seems to me that things are not well with you, if you forgive me for mentioning it." "You're quite right, Toad. All I do is shunt these freight cars onto the turntable. I long for a nice run."
So overall, Season 5 was a resounding success. So after the success of Season 5, Britt approached Alec to be Mr. Conductor in her new movie, Thomas and the Magic Railroad. He accepted the role, and the rest, well, it's history. I'm sure you all know the crazy history of this film. It's best described by other people in other places, not by me. But I won't get into it here anyway. But Alec's performance was fine. Yes, there were plenty of bad scenes. Oh, there were.
Go outside and play? Well, I can understand that. What do you think? Why do you keep hitting him like that? You're going to have a timeout.
Plane, drain. Mountain, fountain. That might be something. I think I'll try the celery.
Oh, there were. But he did what he could with the material. The film was probably going to be a disaster anyway, even with or without all of the cuts, and he couldn't save it himself. Unfortunately, this was essentially the future of the rest of his time on Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Because Thomas and the Magic Railroad bombed so hard, Britt had to step down as company deputy chairperson of her own company because the movie didn't make any money. The Britt Gallcroft company rebranded to Ghislaine Entertainment. This essentially caused a huge shakeup in production where Britt was not involved in writing every episode. And everything just kind of seemed to be a mess, which kind of carried over to Baldwin's Season 6 narration. Things do start off strong though, as Baldwin's voice for Salty, a new diesel engine, is great.
Ahoy, mateys! Salty, pride of the seven seas. I'm a new diesel and I'm here to give you some help.
His Mavis voice also isn't too bad either. But Bill and Ben have changed voices from their previous season, and that becomes a trend throughout the season.
Driver says he'll bore the bolts off us with his stories, huffed Bill.
I am important, Gordon sniffed. I'm an express engine. You're a pouty puffer, Percy, teased James.
Haunted bridge. Rubbish, snorted Duncan. It's as tame as a pet rabbit's.
Slate cars. Nothing to it, he boasted to Rusty.
Either Alec forgot the previous voices, he changed them, or he just didn't care. They change often, even multiple times an episode. Most of the season just seems to be a paycheck for Baldwin, as he just seems disinterested at points. Now, there were some good moments for sure, but it just didn't have the same charm that we saw in Season 5. Honestly, though, I'd take Season 6 any day over listening to his replacement, Michael Brandon. So when it comes to Alec Baldwin, most people either love him or they hate him. I fall on the side of loving him. I'm very nostalgic for his work on Season 5 and Thomas and the Magic Railroad. I really grew up with that film and those episodes. And I was at a point in my life where I saw the movie and I was like, wow, he's my favorite actor. And it just kind of stuck with me. I do like Michael Angelis, but I just don't like him as much as Alec on Season 5. Now, as far as Season 6 goes, that was the first season that I didn't really watch because I felt I was too old for Thomas. I definitely see all the faults people have with it, though. I did get to see a couple episodes on my cousin's VHS tapes, and it just didn't seem the same. I think I remember seeing Jack Frost and thinking, this is kind of silly. But I understand why you guys, or some people, may not like him because of that. But for me, he is right up there with Ringo. I understand that Ringo has a lot more history on the show, but I just think that they're both really well if you just kind of forget about parts of Season 6. They're really neck and neck for my second favorite, Narrator and Mr. Conductor. He really seemed to like Britt, and I really have a respect for that. He talks about her so kindly and nicely, and about how she really cared about the brand of Thomas, and I appreciate that. I do respect his time on the show, and I will always love the nostalgic memories I have.